Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is a topic I wanted to talk about ever since this game came out, Helldivers 2 I'm talking about. Ever since this game came out and I've been watching and observing what's going on online. Um I based on my observations, I've had a few conclusions about why this game is so successful and why this game is doing what it's doing. The conversation online is like Helldivers 2 has done what has done live service right. But what are the reasons why they're doing it right? Well, there are many reasons out there. I mean, it's a good game. For one, it's a good game. It's fun. Um, and it did the microtransaction thing. It did it well. I mean, they do have microtransactions, but they're not like pay to win or pay to convenience or whatever. And they're not crazy expensive, and the game is actually like $40. I mean, there's a lot of conversation about how this game did live service right, but I haven't heard something similar to my opinion of why the game has done live service right. I just want to talk about it now. I have I think I think overall what I have is two basic points that I want to talk about. Well, I think three. My first point is Helldivers 2 um it's not trying to chase a trend like many other games. We can, spend so much time mentioning failed games trying to follow a trend. I don't know how many headlines I've seen, like the Destiny 2 killer and that sort of headlines. Um and even though they are kind of let's say clickbait and such, they're not lying. They're not wrong. When you see the game, they're just trying to do the same Destiny thing, the looter shooter thing, or any other iteration of what's going on out there in the live service realm, let's say. Um, and one of the things that I truly appreciate, and I've been saying for a bit now. Excuse me. I've been saying for a while now is like the reason why these live services aren't successful and they fail is because the live services that we already have ongoing, they're well established and they're good live services, or you know I mean, to each whatever judgment they want to apply to the live services that are online right now. My point is that people are already invested in those games. Like for example, I play Destiny 2, for example. And you can bring up as many looter shooters as you want. I'm already invested in Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 has many years. It has a decent amount of content for me, at least, and activities and such, and events and things that it's hard for a newcomer to compete against. And it's not because it's not a better game, it's not because it's a worse game or whatever. It's just because we are invested already in a game, right? It's like a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine who's a WoW player. I mean, there was a point where she was already done with WoW, and she tried other MMOs only to come back to WoW because she's already so invested in that game. Not only monetarily, but psychologically, it's her game, and she spent so many years, and that it has the content that she likes, and for better or for worse. And then when newcomers come, I mean, they have to have such a vast amount of content, that is impossible for them to compete. And also, one other thing, I think I'm coming up with more points about the live service thing. Is like, um, um, yeah, I'm kind of forgetting that my topic here is Helldivers, but the point is, Helldivers 2 came out with something completely new, something completely fresh. It's not necessarily like reinventing the wheel in many ways. Like, it's a third-person shooter. How many third-person shooters do we have in live services? You know, a lot. Um, and it's a co-op third-person shooter. Well, so how many co-op third-person shooters do we have? So I was scratching my head. What is it that this game has? And my conclusion is these 2 points. Well, I already gave 1 point. It is that they offering something completely new, something completely fresh. They're not chasing a trend other than being live, basically, but they're not chasing a trend, trying to be the killer of somebody like another, even though they're probably gonna be a killer of some sort of other live services, maybe. Hope, I don't know. But um but I don't know. I kind of sense that they're not necessarily following a trend or trying to be the Destiny 2 killer like many other games have tried to be. So what is it? I think Helldivers 2 has a very interesting thing. It's a third-person shooter, like I said. It's a co-op third-person shooter. The main thing for me is that it has an idea. It has an idea. And what do I say when it has an idea? Well, it's not the idea of the game is not just let's, connect with friends and shoot at things and shoot at bugs, you know? The game has this idea of community, of fighting for a cause. This whole chant of for democracy kind of thing that I've been hearing. I mean, I do have Helldivers 2. I haven't been playing because I don't have friends to play with, and the game isn't, I mean, maybe a hot take, isn't very fun to play alone. It's really fun when you're playing with friends. But this whole mantra, this whole chant, this whole crying rally of for democracy, there's an idea behind there. Well, the idea being, it's this community building against the invasion, and all gamers are in this together. And I think, and all that with a theme about democracy and all that is funny, that's memeable, that idea. No other game has those ideas. I mean, if I think about Warzone, what's the idea behind Warzone? There's no really an idea behind Warzone. Not to say that Warzone isn't successful. It's a very successful game, but you don't hear no one. I mean, I don't hear gamers. I don't play Warzone. I don't like that kind of game. They're really boring for me. But I don't hear a crime rally about Warzone, people saying something. It's just a game that you hop in and you kill opponents, and that's it. And you try to win. There's nothing behind it. There's no substance. Whereas in Helldivers, you do have an idea behind it that everybody jumps in and becomes part of it. And I think that simple element, it's enough to break the ice. Not to break the ice, but I'm missing the words. Maybe my English is imperfect. So, but to break from all of the games, to make a difference, to stand out as something different, and to actually appeal to what's evidently a lot of gamers who are looking for something different and something new. To So that's one thing. It has an idea. I think that's very important. And games that have ideas, if you think about them, those games are the big games. Can't talk a lot about the online services, but let's think of WoW. WoW has this idea of the Horde and the Alliance, and then, you know, there are factions and that sort of stuff. I'm not really sure, because I'm not part of that community and never been close to that community either. But I kind of sense that I could see people like belonging to those factions. For the Horde, for the Alliance, I've heard those sort of things. And WoW is the most successful MMO ever. Maybe not because of that, but you know, it has something there. And then I can think of single player games that have ideas that, you know, these games have cult following. They have they're very popular. I can think of my favorite game of all time is Nier Automata, or Nier Automata, however you pronounce that. You know, it has so many ideas behind it, and not ideas like execution, and not ideas like, oh, you can do this or you can do that, or not ideas like mechanics, but ideas in philosophically, let's say, or conceptually. Conceptual ideas, yes, I think that's a word, that really appeal to the gamers. And I think Helldivers nailed it there. Hit the nail on the head with having an idea. And I think that's one of the most important things that I think nobody's mentioning about as a reason for why Helldivers is such a successful game. My other point is something that I came up with. Oh, well, it's a term that I came up with after I saw this news. So, again, I'm not playing Helldivers 2. I did the tutorial and did a couple things and play a couple times, but I mean, I don't have friends to play with, so it's kind of, it's not, I mean, I'm not having fun playing alone, basically. But I saw this news. I've been paying close attention to the game, what's happening culturally and pop culture with the game, especially in our subculture of gaming. And it happens that Helldivers has a guy who controls what's happening in the Galactic War. Right? This guy, Joel, is the game master. So you can go ahead and read the entire article. This is just the headline. I always encourage people to go and read the articles, not just stick with the headline. Go read the article so you can form your own opinions. But this was something very interesting to me, because this is basically having a dungeon master in whatchamacallit, in Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's like that narrator in Baldur's Gate 3, which is kind of playing the dungeon master character in the background. But here you have a real person who's your dungeon master or game master, however they call it. So when I read this information, I was like, okay, so we have a third-person co-op, a co-op third-person shooter that is PvE. And if you notice, I haven't mentioned that so far in this commentary video. I haven't mentioned that intentionally, because really what this game is, if you think about it after reading this information, this game, it's not a PvE game, it's a PvD game. And of course, I came up with that. So it's player versus developer. So the enemy here which are all these bugs and the bots, or the automatons, I think they call it. Whatever happens in this war from the enemy end is decided and controlled by this dungeon master or game master, which is on the side of the developer. So in reality, what we have is a PvD game, player versus developer. The developer, or Joel in this case, will decide how to attack, how to invade, which planets to invade, how much how hard the invasion is gonna be, how dense, I mean, when it's gonna happen, which planet, and so on and so forth. This guy decides, like a dungeon master, what happens in the war. And we, the players, come together and fight back the developer. And I think that's genius. That's I can't put into words how great I think this is. This is incredible. So Helldivers 2 has a single game master, Joel, who controls the intergalactic war. You see it here. Can I zoom in? Yeah. You see it here. Oh, I'm covering the, let me just scroll. Yeah, there you go. So what I mean, that is genius. To be honest, that's simply genius. That's simply something I've never seen before. This is why, for me, the other reasons are also valid reasons, right? You know, the right approach to microtransactions, the right approach to I think a game pass. I always call it game pass, a season pass, or whatever they call it. That's fine. A right approach to those, a right approach on pricing. It's a $40 game. Right approach with microtransactions, whatever. That's cool. But to me, these two factors are what really make Helldivers stand out as a great game. And it's the reason why it's having such an impact in the pop culture of video games. So, having said that, I'm gonna leave it at that. I would definitely love to hear your comments down in the, well, to read your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, you know, dropping whatever your thoughts are. And you know, again, I haven't played the game a lot. So if I say something wrong, or if I'm missing something, just let me know in the comments, and let's start the conversation. But this is super cool, and I can't wait to see more stuff after Helldivers 2. I mean, how are these developers going to kind of steer, not steer, but maybe change direction of live services game from now on? I mean, are we gonna see more games trying to do what Helldivers is doing, being the Helldivers 2 killer, or are we gonna start seeing new ideas? I vote for the latter. That's the one that I want to see. Better ideas, good ideas, and not just imitations, or, you know, of course there's gonna be a game to compete, and that's fine. But I want to see new things. That's my vote. So yeah, so that's it. That's my video. That's what I wanted to say. So if you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button. That's gonna help a lot. And yeah, share with your friends, and let's start the conversation in the comments below. See you later.